So we got done using the Army's surplus VT. We managed to survive a little ambush along the cliffside, and now we're making it to our first proper urban environment of this game, JIAN City.
Seriously, we're not using phrasing anymore?
Well. This one is fairly simple, at least as far as what the overall objective is. As the briefing shows, the way the mission starts can actually go one of two ways, and that is, what sort of approach you want to make. Because our objective is less dealing with the enemies so much as it is getting from one side of the map to the other. So you have to decide, hey, are we going to cross this single bridge that is over very deep water, or do we want to, risk going through the shallow parts of the river, which, it won't compromise the whole VT, but it will, still make you move just a bit slower and be more vulnerable.
I see we've come to the Oregon Trail part of the LP.
Yeah. Also, our commander brings up the fact that we can now call in for supply choppers with our communicator, but because of how this mission is designed, I really do not find it necessary, and I save that for the next one. For now, we're moving to our next VT, the Vortex. You might recall last video, these were the ones that gave me the most trouble because of their, rocket and explosive weaponry. So we're going to put on the biggest, most powerful guns we can manage. We got
some that would say that that's overkill. I say it's just enough.
Yeah. So yeah, I decided to take off the single fuel tank, even though it kind of cuts it close as far as how much I decide to work with, but technically, you could still go in, with the two weapons I have and an extra fuel tank, and it would still be pilotable. It would just be over the suggested weight limit, which is a very peculiar thing about how weight limit works in this compared to, I guess, other mecha games that have these sort of in-depth stats. You basically have a soft and hard limit on what you can carry. The suggested limit, which is indicated by the yellow letters when you go over, is you could still bring it into combat, but it will move slower and its turning radius will be slightly worse. And of course, if you hit the hard limit, which is the max, you just can't bring it in at all.
It's kind of a bit more like Armored Core in that respect.
A bit. Actually, I don't know for sure if it's quite to the same degree as it is in Armored Core, because even if you're not, hitting the weight limit, usually, it's a sort of scale on, how, how much, lightness your mech is. In this, it almost feels like it is kind of treated more as a binary thing, but I could be wrong on that. I've not looked too much into it. All I know is that, you can eject your spare fuel tanks once they're empty if you don't feel like refilling them, and if you have fuel tanks that are contributing to going over the suggested limit, ejecting them will put you back under and kind of remove that sort of I guess debuff, as it were.
Yeah. Does that wind up costing you more supply?
For ejecting?
Yeah.
No, it does not.
Oh, okay.
Use the, I managed to save myself from toppling over there just now by using the slide step, which is the second best use for that maneuver. It's very handy in that regard. So yeah, our main weapons, on our right side, we've got a rocket launcher that shoots a whole salvo of missiles. And if you're on the receiving end of that, if you could be in mission 2, that's usually where a lot of your deaths will come from, because taking all of them, it hurts a lot. But
I can imagine.
Yeah, but on the left side, we have a howitzer, a 370mm one, which, I mean, all the other weapons we got on this is freaking overkill. But I want you to pay attention to the map on the multi-monitor up top. You see that white line that's moving? That's actually how you aim the howitzer, because all howitzer weapons fire in an upward arc trajectory. And because, like, you're basically aiming all your weapons with the right joystick, instead of relying on the on-screen reticule, you instead have to look at the white line and see, like, where it sort of ends at the dot. And that's when you can, like, sort of, like, free aim fire a howitzer shot.
Okay, so it's treated kind of like a mortar.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, the whole concept of the Vortex is that they are meant to be long-range artillery, like, support units. And when you do lock, you do lock onto enemies, it does, like, no matter what the distance is, like, when you fire the howitzer, it will always adjust its trajectory so that it lands right where, like, it's, where the locked-on target is, assuming it does not completely move out of the way. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. Like, I'm holding up the rear of these deciders crossing the river as I just pound the vortexes and bits on the other side. Though, I do get a little bit stuck. I kind of realized I should have probably stuck more to the right of the unit instead of directly behind.
Yeah, you've already taken a few more hits than in previous stages.
Yeah, and I do also come very close to death again in this mission, and and it's at that point where, because of what the overall objective is, fight or flight kicks in, and I go, right, fuck this, I'm just gonna make a break for the city. You guys can handle this, right? They only need one unit to reach the broadcast station. That's all that matters.
And if you murder everyone on the map, technically there's no witnesses.
Yeah. Man, that really would be weird. That was like a real-life sort of like objective for the military where all they cared about was seeing like which of all their units can like race to the finish. Like, even if everyone else dies, as long as just one makes it to the target they're supposed to capture, or even less capture, just make it there in general. It's like, whatever, mission accomplished. We proved we could do it.
It's not what they normally do, what the US military at least does for their yearly war games.
I would not be surprised.
I've seen a few bits and pieces that's like, okay, we need to make it to this section. Oh, we've done it. We win. Yay.
Mm-hmm. So, we're now in the city proper. This one also has quite a few routes you can go through, but the one I'm taking is obviously the safest because of the cover of buildings dividing me and these other units. But it's also like a good way to kind of demonstrate why taking a Vortex or even any VT that can equip a howitzer is a good idea for these, just because, like, there's very rarely a situation in which you have like a low ceiling over you that it like ruins your ability to actually use the howitzer, because they can shoot into the air really high. And if you're in a safe, if you're in a safe situation like that, you can totally play it safe and just take out some poor VT, and they're not really able to move out of the way or like know how to like navigate around the environment to actually get to you. But yeah, at this point, like, we're out of rockets. I'd be wasting more time if I just kept trying to kill every single VT with the howitzer because it takes several rounds. So we're just gonna go straight to the end, to that big broadcast tower. That does not look like Tokyo Tower. I do not know what you're thinking.
It's a shame you didn't use Gamera as your call sign.
Yeah.
Or Ghidorah.
True. But yeah, that's a fun mission. Like, there's definitely like, I've done it both ways. Like, in the beginning, where you can choose to either go across like the river or the bridge. The bridge is like when I did not offer this, just because of how heavy I was going in with my weapons. Like, that bridge can break, is the thing.
Oh,
yeah,
that's a nice touch.
It is. So it's like you kind of. That's basically the route you want to go in if you're taking a more light VT, or you are just blasting straight into 5th gear and don't care about just shooting everything you come across right away.